Well, hi, my name is Greg and welcome to my YouTube channel, or welcome back to my YouTube channel. For those of you familiar with this channel, you'll know that I've been covering the restoration of my 1949 P3 Rover for a very long time. I have had the car on the road for about 2 years now, so more recent videos I've been covering drives in the car. And that is what I'm going to do in this video and the next video, which I hope to release more or less together. In these two videos, I'll be covering the car's participation in the 2024 Bay to Birdwood event. If you're from Adelaide, you're probably familiar with the Bay to Birdwood, but I know that some of the people who watch these videos aren't from Adelaide. So I'll give a bit of a description of the event, but to do that, I'm going to have to refer to my notes a little bit. Now, the Bay to Birdwood is a classic car event that is run annually here in Adelaide, South Australia, since 1980. It's a very well-known event here and a very popular event as well. This year's event was open to vehicles from the very early 1900s through to the 31st of December 1994. After doing a bit of research on the history of the event, I found out that the idea for it was initiated by the Federation of Historic Motor Clubs. The Federation invited a local TV station, SAS Channel 10, and the National Motor Museum to join with them in developing an event to commemorate the granting of the very first Australian driver's licence back in 1906. I believe the Bay to Birdwood was also inspired, at least to some extent, by the London to Brighton car run. The event covers a 67-kilometre route, which is 41.63 miles for those who work in miles, starting at the Adelaide beachside suburb of Glenelg, which is often referred to locally as the Bay. And unsurprisingly, the event finishes in a town called Birdwood, which is in the Adelaide Hills. Actually, strictly speaking, the event starts in a suburb adjacent to Glenelg called West Beach, and the reason for that is that in West Beach there's a reserve that has sufficient capacity for the 1,500 vehicles that take part in the event now. Yep, 1,500 vehicles, so it's a pretty big event. Not all of those vehicles are cars. There's also historic trucks, a couple of historic buses and motorcycles as well. I entered the event for the first time this year, and after I submitted my entry, I was invited to submit an entry in the Concours de Elegance component of the Bay to Birdwood. I hope I pronounced that right, Concours de Elegance. I didn't think my car was actually up to Concours standard, and in fact I'm quite sure it isn't. But I did agree to enter in the end, partly out of curiosity, partly as a motivator to present the car as well as I could, and partly to get some feedback about the car as well. In this video, I'll cover the concours event. I was not as focused on filming on the day as I would have liked to have been, because I was more than a little bit anxious about presenting my car for judging for the very first time. But the event went well and I actually enjoyed it quite a lot. So without any further introduction, let's have a look at the 2024 Bay to Birdwood concours event. Well, slight change of plan. Before we look at the actual concours event, I thought it might be helpful just to look at some of the preparation work that I did on the car before the event. So that's what we'll do now. Well, the first thing I did was make up this shiny bung here. Now, originally the car would have had something like that. The original ones are chrome-plated steel. And I did order a reproduction one and got it, but I found it was just a bit too big in diameter for what I wanted there. It had a pretty rusty spring steel clip holding it in place, so I wasn't really happy to use it. What I've done here though is I've actually turned that up out of solid stainless steel and then polished it and polished it and polished it until it looks like chrome. Well, at least I hope it does. I'll just show it from a bit of a distance. The second thing I worked on was just getting the two chrome horns that you see here at the front of the car at an even height and even angle. They weren't too bad before, but they weren't quite right. So quite some time ago now, I made packers that raised the height of the horns, but back then I didn't quite manage to get them sitting evenly. So this is largely about addressing that problem really. So what I had to do was take a little bit of thickness off the packer that I made here and also change the angle of it slightly so that the two horns sit nice and evenly. I'm not sure how well you're going to be able to see that really, but trust me, they don't look too bad now compared to how they were. The next thing I focused on was just trying to tidy things up under the bonnet here a little bit. I really ran out of time to do all that I would have liked to have done, so if you can see here, I've got some original looking sort of PVC type sort of conduit, whereas what I had there before was more modern looking plastic conduit. So I replaced that. There's still some more work to do in regard to that, and quite a bit of work to do in terms of just tidying up the wiring. And I did get picked up on that by the judges, but I'll go into that in a minute. And the last thing I did was make up a rubber mat for the bottom of the boot here. Now, before I made the mat, what I had there was, it was just finished in I think it's called a product called Schultz, which is like a 2-pack textured sound deadening finish, really. That isn't how it would be originally, but it's the best I could do in the short time that I had. I think the original mat, and I've still got to do a bit of research on this, is it has some sort of board that has like a smooth rubber finish on it, and I think the same on the surface here as well. So I'll do a bit more research on that and I'll get that sorted out for next time. So no surprise, one of the jobs I did in preparation for this event was a thorough wax and polish of the car. That ended up being a bit harder than normal. About 2 months before this event, I broke a finger in my right hand. So yeah, it was just harder work than it would have been otherwise. Absolutely exhausted by the time I finished it. But anyway, I'll just go through what I did. So I did, yeah, just a polish and then a wax of the paintwork and then a polish of the chrome work. There's quite a lot of chrome work, including the hubs. I put some tyre black on the tyres just to make them look a bit tidier. I also put tyre black on the rubber on the running boards. And then inside the car, just a general clean up, vacuum, clean the leather seats, and also put some leather conditioner on the seats. And that was about it, I think. Now on to the actual concourse event, which was held at the Migration Museum in Adelaide City. Really nice location. There are several courtyards there, so they had different courtyards for different judging categories. So this courtyard was dedicated to the pre-1950 vehicle judging category. I was surprised that there weren't more cars there, but the standard of what was there was very good. These are a few shots I took just after getting there. Cars were still arriving and they were still setting up at this stage. The judging for this event is not all about the car. They also have a criteria called the overall impact. So having some period correct accessories, a period corrected tyre, that's all part of the event, and the better you do that, the better your chance of winning, as I understand it. The rather nice Bentley you can see parked next to my car is actually not included in the judging for the pre-1950s vehicles because apparently it's a 1950 car. The reason the organisers put the car here was that appearance-wise it's a better fit with this group of cars. I bought my picnic set and picnic rug, and I also restored a portable vintage valve radio, which is sitting just behind the car there. Next time I'm going to go to a bit more effort and just present things a bit better, I think. This event was quite a learning experience for me. I could see that some of the participants had made up information boards about their car, so I'm thinking of doing something similar next year. So here's a photo of me and my wife Jeanette, dressed in our best attempt at late 1940s attire. Yeah, I think we did okay. Now this might surprise some of you, but I actually hand knitted the cardigan that Jeanette's wearing there. Many years ago Jeanette taught me how to knit. This particular cardigan is made from an original 1940s pattern. You can see my picnic set and radio there at the back. The picnic set was made by a company in England called Brexton, who were pretty prolific at producing that sort of thing back in the day. And the radio is quite interesting. It's actually from an Adelaide company, and it's definitely period correct. It's from the late 40s. I have to say the atmosphere at this event was just superb. To my mind, it really had a feeling of celebration about it, and the setting couldn't have been better in amongst the historic buildings. Also a very well organised event. I captured a little bit of video footage on the day, so I'll show that next. A little bit of footage here from one of the other courtyards where there are other judging categories. I have to admit I was pretty distracted by my own judging events, so I didn't pay that much attention to what was going on here. I think there are at least a couple of judging categories here. There would be a post-1950s judging category and also a category for what they call a preservation award for unrestored cars. Well, pretty happy with the result. I finished third in the pre-1950s judging category. Mind you, I think there might have only been 4 cars in that category. I'm not really sure because I think some of the cars that were judged in the same category might have been in a different courtyard, just not sure. Anyway, happy with that. I've got a few ideas of things I can improve for next year, and I feel encouraged by the results, so I will give it another go next year. Well, hi again. I hope you enjoyed looking at the 2024 Beta Birdwood Concours event. I enjoyed the day very much, and I was very happy with the result, getting third in my first try. I did contact the organisers to get some feedback from the judges, which is overall quite positive. They did offer me some feedback on things that I can improve, which I'll go through and show you shortly. But to do that, it's probably better to go and have a look at the car so you can see what I'm talking about. So over the next year, it's my intention to sort of work on these. I've also got a few other ideas of things I could improve, which the judges didn't pick up on as well. Let's go have a look at the car. We'll work out a plan for improving a few things and having another go next year. So I'll go through now some of the things that the judges did pick up on. So one of the things they mentioned is that my hose clips weren't matching. What I'm going to do is I've ordered some more period correct looking clips, which are all the same. So they're more of a wire clip. And the new clips will look something like this. Some of the other obvious things under the bonnet here is I've got plastic cable ties, which is a big no-no really. I do have a plan to rectify that. But like most things, it's not quite as easy as I would have liked. I've not really been able to find exactly what I'm looking for there. I'll show you what I think they should look like. Not sure how well this is going to come out on the video, but you can see in this photo there are some steel spring clips here. I've tried pretty hard, but I can't find anything exactly like that online anywhere. So I do have a plan to make my own. I've got some sheet spring steel of the right thickness. Figured out a way of making those. They're like a C-clip, but they do have a bit of an indent in the clip to allow for the capillary tube for the temperature gauge. Okay, back under the bonnet again. They did also comment that some of the wiring wasn't all that tidy. I do have some wires which aren't the original sort of cloth coloured type of wire, so I'm going to go through and replace all those wires with cloth covered wire so it looks more period correct. Now, one of the things that the judges picked up was that they didn't think the centre emblem on my hubcaps looked quite right. I don't think they were actually aware of exactly how it should look, but they're right, it isn't quite right. Originally, this centre bit would be, I think as it is now, unpainted, but it should be painted around that here. I'll show you a photo just to illustrate what I'm talking about. So here's a photo. As you can see, you've got bare metal, bare brass there. It's painted around here, and this edge piece is left unpainted. I've also got this drawing, like a factory drawing. I can't even remember where I come across that now, but yeah, it's a bit special really. The Rover Co. Limited Coventry, there you go. Another thing that the judges picked up on was my tyres. I'll need to explain what I'm talking about. Now, rightly or wrongly, when I was making decisions during this restoration process, I researched tyres, and in the end I decided to go for a radial tyre. And on the recommendation of a friend, I chose some Vredestein tyres. So what I've got fitted to the car, Vredestein Sprint Classics. Very nice tyre, very happy with them. I just need to go to the back of the car now. Now, when I bought these radial tyres, I bought 5 so that I'd have one for a spare. And then what I found when I tried to fit the spare tyre, I couldn't fit it. And the reason for that is that the radial tyre is just that little bit wider than the cross-ply, the original cross-ply. So then what I had to do is I had to swap out the radial tyre for a cross-ply. So what the judges didn't like was the fact that I've got radial tyres on my car, and a cross-ply tyre as my spare. Well, this does leave me with a bit of a dilemma, and I'm not really sure what I'm going to do. Kind of erring towards getting some cross-ply tyres and having them fitted. I'm thinking maybe Avon tyres, because they do a tyre which would look quite period correct and I think would work well in this car. I must admit I've got some curiosity in terms of what the car would be like on cross-ply tyres. I've got a sneaky suspicion that in some ways it would be better and in some ways worse. For example, the steering is quite heavy on radial tyres at low speeds and when you're trying to park and that sort of thing. So I suspect that would be better on cross plies. I suspect maybe the ride would be a little softer on cross plies as well. Not sure. But anyway, still thinking about it. But yeah, erring towards getting some cross plies. It's kind of an expensive solution though. Actually, whilst we're here in the boot area, I'm going to cover a few things now that the judges didn't pick up on that I know I can improve on. I do have some sort of period correct tools in the boot here. So there's the wheel brace here. Actually, whilst we're here looking at the boot, when I was mentioning things that the judges picked me up on, I forgot to mention that I lost some points for the fact that the interior trim in the boot here isn't finished. So the back of the boot here and the sides for that matter should be finished in black felt. That's a job I was always going to do, and so it is something I'll get around to in the not too distant future. Now there is an air pump for the tyres that sits in the ledge at the top of the boot here, and there's like a tool roll that covers it. I've still got to find a suitable pump and fix it up to working order, so that's one job I need to finish. I also need to find an original jack which is bolted to the side of the boot here. I've just got a modern jack covered in some green fabric at the moment. Other than that, I think I'm pretty okay in terms of the original tools. I do have the original toolkit that sits under the passenger side glove box. The only other thing I can think of that the judges didn't pick up on that I have picked up on, which I sort of intend to improve, or I was always going to address this anyway, really just haven't got around to it yet, is that these cars have a rear blind like you can see in this photo. When I bought the car, most of the fittings were there for it, apart from, but just the blind itself was missing. So I had the fittings that you see here, and the cord. And also at the bottom of the blind, there are little mounting brackets that fit to the end of the blind and then screw to a board behind the seat here. I have those, and for a long time I just couldn't find a blind that had the right diameter. I'm not sure what you call it, the actual timber slat at the bottom of it. I couldn't find one with the right diameter to fit the fittings that I did have. And then by luck, just after the Beta Birdwood, when I was walking my dog, I found a blind out on the street that someone put out for hard refuse of just the right diameter and probably just slightly longer than what I need so I can shorten it. So I got lucky there, so that'll be another job for my motor trimmer to help me out there, I think. Well, hi again. I'm going to sign off on this video now. I hope you enjoyed it. And just a reminder, the video that covers the actual Beta Birdwood run, I've almost got that finished, so the plan is to release that almost straight away. So I shall see you then, hopefully. Bye for now.